Hello, and a very warm welcome to you, wherever you are listening to me, Hayley, in your ears. I hope that you're multitasking, doing something incredible, and just getting it done. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. I am Hayley Osborne. I am your host. I am your business strategist. I am the founder of this company. I am a mum of 3 very small humans, and also someone who's really passionate about helping health brands to build businesses that they are genuinely proud of. So that is me in a nutshell. And, you know, if you want to tell me a little bit about I guess the transformation message is when you meet people, flick me a message on Instagram or like wherever you play the most, whether that's Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I will see it, because I think that's the most important part of how you get your foot in the door, and how whether you are at a networking event, in an elevator, at a barbecue, at the side of a sports game, and someone's like, oh, hey, how are you? Actually, like, I don't know what you do. So what do you do for fun? Like, what do you do? I usually say, what do you do for fun when I haven't met somebody, or when I'm introducing myself, because like I do care about what people do for work, but especially if I'm in a social setting, I do say, what do you do for fun? Because I'm genuinely interested in what people have to say. I just love it. And if they lead with work, then they do. If they lead with play, then they do. But I think I'm just such a people observer that it's just the thing that I do. I love to know. And so in a business setting, like your transformation message, what you lead with is really important. And what it often needs to create is a sense of a question. So, oh, that's really cool. How do you do that? Or, oh, wow, tell me more. Like, who do you work with? Who are your clients? Just any kind of statement that evokes a kind of question of, well, what's next? Or maybe they're thinking, what's in it for me? Anyway, so you're awesome. You're here. You're listening to me in your ears. This is episode 215. And today I have boldly titled this episode, Your Next Customer Doesn't Know Your Story Yet. And so it's really important that you're going to tell that with your best, most intentional, most genuine way possible, because that's why people love you, okay? And this is part of continuing the conversation from last week, and we talked about, if you had missed it, go back and have a listen, but we talked about your business outgrowing the version that built it. And it's true, because you never stay the same as what you are now as to when you started. And I spoke a lot about evolution. I spoke a lot about letting go and stepping into that next version of yourself as CEO. And if you haven't crowned yourself with that title yet, it's time. You need to give yourself permission, but I'm also giving you permission, because I wish someone had said that to me when I was just starting out. I never normally have to edit the podcast, but I just got a call come through from the school, and I was like, I have to answer it. And then I thought, oh no, I better press stop on the recording. But I had come so far that I'm like, I'm not going to re-record this. So we'll see how the editing goes, guys. So sorry if there's a little bit of like a sentence and then we restart again. But anyway, so I was saying that you need to crown yourself. You're the only one that can do it, as, yeah, I'm the CEO of this business, and I do X, Y, and Z. So today I think that I wanted to flip that conversation, right? Because while your business may have evolved, and it should have, what's happening alongside that is your audience is evolving too. Okay. And this is probably one of the biggest mindset shifts that I think every business owner needs to make. So I was listening to Emma Grede recently, and if you haven't heard of her before, she's a co-founder of Good American, Skims, and I've been finishing up her book, which is awesome, by the way. And she said something that really stopped me. And I thought that I would love to continue the conversation here on the podcast because, knowledge is power. So she said that our customer today has no idea who Good American was when we launched. Okay. And, she also goes on to say that this customer was only 12 years old. And I remember thinking, oh my God, wow, that changes everything, because she's right, firstly. But the customer that they're selling to today isn't the customer that first discovered them. Okay. The customer that first discovered them doesn't know their story, doesn't know their struggle, doesn't know their mission, okay, and doesn't know the journey of what led them to where they are now. And it's actually nice for me to talk about a business sort of case study that is, semi well known. If you don't know who she is, go and have a look. And she's just a mega in business, and I love her. And she has 4 little children, and she is killing it in business. She's, I want to say worth billions, maybe worth millions, but probably like $1 billion. And I think it's just incredible. Obviously, she has help through the line in everything, which is great. She would have a chef. She would have someone who takes care of her children. But, I immediately thought, after listening to all of this, that, business owners need to hear more about this. So that person, when that was your ideal customer and was following along your journey when you launched, isn't the same customer who first discovered you. All right. So are you evolving with that as well? Because I think that we make a huge assumption. And I think that that assumption is that people already know us. And I think that we assume that they've seen our website, that they've watched every reel, that they know why we started, and that they've read every email of ours. But in reality, they actually haven't, not even close. So think about that for a second. And people coming into your world like now, or even in the last year, they don't even know why you started. They don't know your vision. They don't know your mission. They don't know that. They don't know like your backstory. They've not read every email, and they've probably never seen your website. Right. And that's a fact. And I think we miss that part when we're chatting with our ideal clients. So your dream client, might have only found you yesterday. Okay, they've never heard your story. They don't know why you're different and why you're the person to help them. They don't know what you believe and why you believe it. Okay, they don't know why the process that you use inside of your business and your framework works. Okay, they don't understand your philosophy, which is really important. And they don't know if you are the right fit to solve their problem. But yet somehow I think us as business owners expect them to understand after one Instagram post. No. Like, think about it. Does that logically make sense? It's really crazy when you think about it, because it doesn't make sense. And I actually think one of the biggest mistakes that we make is becoming bored with our own messages and our own content. And so we always think that we need to reinvent the wheel, but we actually don't. And I think that we also think, I've talked about this a lot. I've said this a million different ways, but the same way over and over again over the last few years. My audience already knows what I'm talking about. And I'm starting to sound repetitive. I must be really repetitive, but here's the thing. That is not true. Okay. Your audience hear your own message every single day. Okay. And you might think that you need to mix it up, but it's not true. You hear what you say, but they don't. All right. And think about your own life. Think about how many people you follow. Hundreds, maybe thousands. I know that I've followed maybe a few, I don't even know, but it's over 1,000. And how much versus how much you're following versus how much you consume. And now imagine your audience on the flip side of that. They're doing exactly the same thing. They've got kids, they've got businesses, 100 emails, this and that, dinner to organize, school pickups, clients' life, it goes on and on and on. And I don't think that they're waiting for your next Instagram caption to read it or your next email. Everybody is living their own lives. Okay. So when they see that your content pops up, it might actually be the first thing that they've ever seen from you. It might be a video or a post that goes viral from you. Okay. And that's the first time they're seeing it, because what happens when people really engage in like content is the algorithm pushes it out to more people. So it might actually be the first time someone's ever seen you or heard from you. Okay. Which is why, even though you as a business owner might be getting bored, the repetition of your message is so powerful. Okay. You are repeating yourself, yes, to yourself, but what you're doing outside of yourself is building huge recognition. All right. And I think that some of the strongest brands, okay, including the Good American, the Skims, and those kind of brands, repeat the same ideas. All right. Over and over and over again, because that's what works. Okay. So, Nike, Apple, like all those big brands. Yes, your message evolves, wonderful, but the principles stay the same. And that's what gets repeated. Okay. And I don't think that these massive brands are worried about sounding repetitive at all. Have a think about the best brands that you know and love that are mega. You love them because of what they stand for. Okay. Their values, their messages might evolve over time. So say like Nike, for example, their values, their messages change in and around that time and place. So World Cup, we might see more on AFL here in Australia around Nike. We might see, when they're leaning in to like merge and collaborate with Skims, like the messaging changes, but the values are underpinned. Okay. And these big brands are focusing on becoming memorable, and they don't give a shit about the repetition, and they shouldn't. And so I think as business owners, we're often chasing like new content, new ideas, new hooks, trends, and all the things, and new ways to say things, when maybe the smartest thing that we could actually do is like simply just explain ourselves heaps better, because that's what works. There is something in simplifying things again and again and again. And I know through working, and what I've found through working with lots of business owners, especially in my VIP days, is that we could become so close to our own business that we can't see it anymore. And that's what that's all about. It's those days with me are about unpacking what that is. And I know, this is true in my own business. I talk about strategy, leadership, health brands, and, building a business that feels really good on the inside as well as the outside. Okay. I always talk about being clear. And I think that's important in your like visibility, your energy, consistency, positioning. I get a lot of messages about, I love your energy, I love your vibe. And that has to remain consistent, because that's me fundamentally too. And so what you see is what you get. What you hear on the podcast is what I am in real life when I'm chatting with you, whether that be a social function or whether that be a business event, or whether that be, I remember a photographer said to me, like the first time I started working with him, he was like, wow, you're exactly the same in person as you are on your website, like through my words. He's like, everything's the same. I said, yes, because I'm trying to be genuinely me. And I think that a lot of people struggle to be able to create that. So that mimic their personality into written format, through the line of what their business looks like. And it's a really, I think, important value to have, or a skill to be able to build and create. And if you struggle with it, get help, because that's the one thing that is going to keep you authentic and keep you moving the needle in your business. So if you don't know how to do it, like what you save in, say, a day of coming to hang out with me is months and months and even years trying to do it yourself, because you just never ever get to do it, because you're always working in your business rather than on your business. And when you work on your business, it's a little bit like can't see the forest through the trees, because you're so close to it. I see this all the time. And so I want to repeat that often here on the podcast, because I know this to be true. And I just wish that more business owners would realize that. And then your trajectory becomes a lot quicker through the line, up the line, breaking through that glass ceiling. I think it's really important. So, do you know what happens when you get it all worked out? Is I get messages like, I've never had anyone explain it to me like that before, Hayley. That's really good. And, I've probably said it 50 million times. So, hello, it is what it is. I think the reason I want to say all of this to you as well is because people arrive into your world at different moments of their life cycle in business. And someone might discover your podcast today, might be listening to this podcast for the first time today. Someone else might follow you on LinkedIn in the next week. Someone might hear you speak at an event in the next month. There might be someone that is referred by a client in 6 months from now. They're all starting in different places with how they're coming into your world, which means it's your responsibility to continually introduce yourself and your business to new people all the time. Okay? Because people are coming in at different stages and want to know what you're all about, because they obviously have arrived for some reason or another. So I think at least every couple of months, here's what I think you should do. Reintroduce yourself. It's not that hard. Tell everyone who you are, what you do, who you help, what you believe, why you started, what makes you different. How can people work with you? That's something I don't see very often is like, I want to work with you. So tell me how I can work with you. Okay. Don't assume that people know, because they don't. They honestly probably don't. All right. And if you are a little bit convoluted as to what your model looks like, if you don't have a very smooth ascension model as to how people can come in and work with you and get a taste of who you are and what you do at a low price point and then work their way up, and like all your funnels are in place and how they should be, you need to spend the day with me. Okay, so that I can teach you how to start to build all that fat in and around your business, because it's really important. There's probably so many people that have come into your world and are just slipping through the cracks, and you don't even know that it's happening, and they're running away and doing something else or paying someone else to help them. Okay, and here's another thought. I think that if you've changed, your customers probably changed as well. Okay, they're not buying the same as what they were 5 years ago. The market changes, people change, our way of consuming changes. 5 years ago, we did not have AI. And now we do. And I know lots of people, even my friends, are researching different ways to buy through AI. Okay. And that, people are putting their overseas holiday itineraries in and AI is building it, right? That didn't happen 5 years ago. We paid someone to do it. So how are you evolving at the same time? Okay, people are researching different, they're consuming differently, they are comparing differently, and they're asking different questions, and they're looking for trust so much faster. They're listening to podcasts, obviously searching on YouTube as well, reading reviews. Everything's changed, and your communication outwardly needs to reflect that and change as well. It is time. Okay, I don't mean change who you are. No, I mean change how you communicate your value. Those things are very, very different. So I think that the businesses that are continuing to grow are clear. Okay, and they're always helping the people that are new coming into their world how to understand who they are and what they do. Okay, how you're showing up, how you're telling your story. Okay. And, I don't think, and even you might think about me like, you love hearing yourself talk. I actually don't. So when I go in to look at the episode after I press stop, I just listen to the top and tail and make sure it's good, and then whatever, right? Whatever in the middle. I don't replay the whole podcast episode in my ears, because I'm like, most people don't love the sound of their own voice. But you need to tell your story for every new person that walks through your door. Okay, so here's my challenge for you this week. Take your most important message, tell it again, make it better, make it clearer, do it with more confidence, okay? Because somebody out there needs what you have to offer, okay? And if you're sitting there thinking, Hayley, I actually don't know what my message is anymore, and the way that I'm positioning myself does not feel clear, and it feels so disconnected, like my brand feels so disconnected to where I am over here. I've evolved so much, but my marketing hasn't. That is exactly what we solve inside my VIP strategy days, okay? We spend the day refining everything, your positioning, your messaging, your offers, and your marketing, so that when new people find you, they instantly understand who you are, what you do, and why you're different, okay? Not because you are shouting at them, okay? It's more because you have refined all of that and you've become very, very clear. So send me a DM. I'd love to hear from you just with the words VIP day, or send me an email. I'm accessible, okay? And I would love to help you to be able to bring the next version of your business to life. And thank you so much for spending the time listening to me today. And remember that your next customer doesn't know your story yet, okay? So don't stop telling it. And I'll see you next week for another episode of the Hayley Osborne Show.